Hey, everybody, welcome on back. It's a Rubbin is Racing podcast. As you can see right behind me, it's Rubbin Racing with Spider and Large. I'm not angry about that still, you fucking prick. Did you put that in there?
At least your name's on it.
P1.
The episode is brought to you by Body Armor Flash IV, which the boys have in the studio with them. Body Armor Flash IV is packed with electrolytes and provides faster and longer-lasting hydration with no artificial flavors, sweeteners, or dyes. With great tasting flavors like strawberry kiwi, tropical punch, Body Armor IV Flash IV gives your body the rehydration it needs to recover. We had just done a basketball tournament, 1-on-1 on Monday, where we were just going constantly playing. I'm telling you guys, it almost killed me. If they didn't have this Body Armor Flash IV on the sidelines, everyone was throwing that stuff down. It helped out a lot. I highly recommend it. You can get yours at a local 7-Eleven or on Amazon today, and they'll ship it to you in bulk. Thank you so much, Body Armor, for your continued support. Alrighty, guys, here we are. It's we're after COTA, and we're going into Phoenix, and we got a full house. We got Spider in the house. We got Quiggs in the house. We got Moonhead in the house. We got Jacob on the ones and twos. It's a full boat, and we have two guests today. We're going to go 4 wide as opposed to 3 wide. That's Spider's idea. He's like, why don't we get Gilliland and Gragson on at the same time, and we can fuck with those guys because they seem like they're good friends. We bumped into them, right? When did we bump into them? Daytona?
Yeah, at Daytona. I think they have some of the best team chemistry out of any team that I've seen so far. They seem to be genuinely like good friends off the track as well, which is always cool to see. We saw them coming back from the golf course at Daytona, so they were dressed in their golfing attire. They looked like Jersey Jerry did at our mini golf outing with Denny Hamlin in Chicago of last year. But always good to see those guys. And my idea for the 4 wide this week, Large, was I thought we had good convo with Chase Elliott and Bubba Wallace. So anytime we can get two good friends in the room together alongside each other, I think that helps bring them out a little bit more. So hopefully that's what we'll get today.
You know, it's funny you say that, Spider, because that's exactly correct. The way that Bubba loosened up Chase, I think Noah loosens up Todd. Like they're the same, that same dichotomy in personalities, almost to a T. That's a perfect fucking, I didn't think about that. That might be my first question now. Thank you, Spider, for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But either way, we have a packed show, and we're going to start off with a DM that I want to get a rating from Spider on. It's from Brandon. He's sent in multiple things to us since this show has started. He's great. He said, after we mentioned last week in headlines that Corey Heim signed a developmental deal with 2311 Racing, he will run multiple Cup Series races behind the wheel of the number 67 Toyota Camry, with veteran crew chief Booty Barker set to lead the team. Heim is set to make his first Cup Series start of the season in May at Kansas. Here's what Brandon had to say. So I listened to yours and Denny's podcast, and it got me floating ideas about Corey Heim. For some obvious reason, JGR doesn't seem to want to supply him with the ride. I know last week we had said how Corey and Ty Gibbs don't necessarily get along. That might be a contributing factor, but it looks like JGR doesn't want to supply him with the ride. And with him now a 2311 developmental driver, someone's got to be kind of on a hot seat, right? But who? And this is Brandon's guess, and I want to get a Spidey Scoops score on this. Corey Heim is going to replace Tyler Reddick at 2311, and Tyler will slide on over to JGR and take over the number 11 when Denny leaves Gibbs. That's his theory. How do you feel about that theory, Spider?
Yeah, I could see this happening for sure.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it as matter of fact as Brandon did here, but definitely a conversation I've had internally in my head. It was like, oh, this could be a thing that happens. I don't know. Tyler Reddick at 2311, it seems like, although my rebuttal would be, I feel like 2311 and Joe Gibbs are a little bit more alike than they are different. You know, you look at Hendrick and Spire would be my Chevy comparison to these two teams, and there seems to be a pretty big disparity between the teams, although I don't know. Carson Hocevar has been running really good, so maybe that gap isn't as big as I make it seem. But 2311 and Gibbs seem to be a little bit closer from where I sit in terms of performance-wise. So I could very easily see this happening. Who's to say? I mean, Denny Hamlin is already, and I'm a Denny guy. Before I say anything too critical, I want to make that abundantly clear. He's been very good to us. I like rooting for Denny Hamlin, and I think he's a necessary kind of voice in the NASCAR space. That being said, it seems like he has kind of been struggling this year, not only with, sponsorship. Like, you look at his hauler and that thing, there was storylines going around before the season started, like, wow, look how blank Denny Hamlin's hauler is. And We've seen guys like even his former teammate Kyle Busch be shown the door at Joe Gibbs because they couldn't secure that M&M sponsorship or something to backfill that when they ultimately left the sport. So I don't know. I could see Denny being on the hot seat, not really on the hot seat, but kind of being, ushered out of Joe Gibbs, especially that he's got his hand in a lot of different, ventures. And, I've said it recently on last year on this pod that I could see them, Denny and Tyler, swapping rides. So I don't think that Reddick would be opposed to it. I think it would be a good move for him. But I think it really is going to depend on how Denny does this year. I know he does have, some support. We saw national debt relief, and I think he has King's Hawaiian as well. Mm-hmm. But nothing like flagship like he had, in years past where FedEx would be on the car for 85% of the races in any given season. So, and Joe Gibbs is historically one of those teams that is, kind of, I don't know what you used to describe them in the past, Large. They're like, they seem to struggle with sponsorship. They have, certain relationships with these companies that are long lasting, but then once those, go their own way, it's like they're kind of out on an island on their own.
They don't have the soft dollar component, right? Like where Hendrick cars can ride at Hendricks.com.
Right.
Like Penske provides. So Joe Gibbs, Penske provides to so many different things. They could say, hey, we're going to provide you Penske parts, put your name on one of our cars. There's all those soft dollar arrangements. Joe Gibbs doesn't have that. Right. So it's sort of more like true sponsorship.
And what Tyler Reddick does have is he has a pretty committed sponsor in Monster or the Beast, whatever you want to call it. They seem to be on his cars a lot. So that could be more kind of like solidifying some sponsorship on the Joe Gibbs side if this were to happen. And honestly, I don't think it's that far-fetched. But I will say I think it's going to have to depend on how Denny does this year. Did one of you guys predict that Denny would be without a win this year? Or am I making that up?
No, I had Busch without a win.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Busch.
But yeah, I don't know if Denny struggles, which we have seen as these drivers kind of become more and more veteran, i.e. Kyle Busch. I don't think that this is that far-fetched. And I also think, back to Brandon's point, sorry, I'm just spitballing here. I heard a rumor that Ty Gibbs and Corey Heim have lasting beef from previous lower-level racing experiences. So I don't know if it's Ty Gibbs putting the kibosh on, Corey Heim getting looks with Joe Gibbs Racing. Maybe that's why they went with, Chase Briscoe or someone that's a little bit more like universally liked. Mm-hmm. But I don't think this is that far-fetched from Brandon. What do you think, Corey?
I think it's super far-fetched.
Yeah.
Because I'll read back the last sentence. Corey Heim is going to replace Tyler Reddick at 2311. Tyler will slide over to JGR to take over the number 11 when Denny leaves Gibbs. We think Denny is going to leave Gibbs, not have a ride, and not go to his team.
But I think what he's saying now, so since he's in the developmental deal, so Denny's 41, right? So he is at that point where he's going to have to either step away from the sport altogether or go to a part-time schedule,
you don't think
race
he'll
schedule.
Ever drive for his own team?
Well, I think he probably will. Or would he rather put somebody in? Well, I don't know. Are they getting another charter?
You think he'd rather put somebody in a
seat
rather than race for the team he owns just before his career ends?
I could see Corey Heim also ending up at a spot like Legacy Motor Club, a Toyota team. Who knows what will happen with John Hunter, who has finished. He broke his record this week. But prior to that, the first 2 weeks, he finished within the top 10, maybe even top 5, if I'm not mistaken. But who's to say that, Corey Heim doesn't end up at a spot like Legacy? But I would say, based on what I've heard, it doesn't seem like Joe Gibbs will make room for Corey Heim.
I guess just a question for all of you, because I've always looked at it as an obvious, but do you think Denny will drive for 2311 full-time before he retires?
I think we've asked him that very question on the pod before, and I think he said he would like to, remain at Joe Gibbs for as long as that opportunity presents itself.
But that's like
you have to say that. He has. I mean, that'd be the dumbest thing if he didn't. But if anyone wouldn't say that, it's Denny because he doesn't give a single shit.
He also said that he would prefer Bubba Wallace to make the playoffs over Ty Gibbs his rookie year. So if there's a guy that's going to speak truthfully It's probably Denny Hamlin.
But-
I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I guess at the very least, you guys don't think it's as much of an automatic as I do.
No, and I also think that Tyler will slide over to JGR and take over the number 11 when Denny leaves Gibbs. That seems to be a big controversial talking point for a lot of people. With like, would Joe Gibbs give up the number 11? I know that has some family sentimental value to Coach Gibbs, and obviously to Denny as well. He's made several wins came in that 11 for him. So that is interesting in itself. Is if Denny were to go drive for 2311, would Joe Gibbs part with the number and allow that Denny to keep his number as he goes?
Joe Gibbs takes the 45, obviously. And then they get the 23 and the 11. That'd be cool. What do you think, Moonhead? Where does Corey Heim wind up?
I think Legacy is probably the most likely place. Just I don't see I could see a lot of things moving around with 2311 one day, but I feel like they're pretty committed to Reddick and Bubba. Right. I don't think those two are going anywhere anytime soon. And I think if anything, Toyota would probably just try to give Legacy that boost that they need and get them kind of on par with the 2311 or Gibbs and put Heim there.
I think Denny's done a great job of securing drivers that have great sponsorship. Bubba Wallace is one of the most marketable, famous drivers, regardless of your personal opinion on him.
He's a douche.
Yeah, no, I love Bubba. Just to set the record straight, fuck the haters. But between McDonald's and a lot of these flagship brands that are running on the side, then you go to his teammates, and Denny and 2311 are getting. Again, they have flagship sponsors in Monster with Riley Herbst week after week, or the Beast. Although it is kind of interesting as of recently to see. I think Riley Herbst is going to be in a Sunny D car. He was in another competing casino that I will not name scheme recently. So it's interesting to see him stray away from the non-Monster schemes. That's something that's been iconic with Riley Herbst. In the name of silly season, I do have a question for you guys, and I was floating this out to myself watching Circuit of the America race, particularly on Saturday when Conor Zilisch won the damn thing. Is it crazy that we're automatically putting him in the 99? Who's to say that that Rick Hendrick or what was the other team? Rick Hendrick doesn't call up and say, hey, I want Conor Zilisch, NASCAR's number one prospect, in the 48. And I hate to be calling out Alex Bowman, but he is the oldest guy at Hendrick. He seems to be, and I know people are going to get butthurt about this, he seems to be consistently the worst driver at Hendrick. Who's to say that Rick Hendrick doesn't pick up the phone and call Conor Zilisch or Carson Hocevar and get one of those guys to take over that ride? Get some youth in an aging Hendrick Motorsport, and I say that like they're old. I think Bowman's 31, Larson's around there as well. Chase Elliott's 29, and Byron's a couple years younger. But something to watch. I as much as I think that Zilisch will be in the 99 next year, I think that we should maybe explore all options before just assigning him that ride.
I won't take anything off the table. First off, thank you, Brandon, for sending this shit in. It's always a talking point for us. But all this stuff does rely on whether or not the off chance Denny doesn't win this year. Do you think that Denny Hamlin is the type of guy, as much as we all think that Denny Hamlin will be racing for 2311 at some point, or he wants to stay at Joe Gibbs for a bunch of years, if Denny does start to get the idea that his skill set is slipping, right, as he gets deeper into his 40s, you think he's the type of guy that's going to stay in racing too long? Because he has someplace else to go where he can do the bullshit Jimmy Johnson 5 races a year type thing, own this company. By the way, this company has enough going on. I mean, I can give you the Jeff Gluck headline right now. A new 30-page court filing shows NASCAR has countersued 2311 in Front Row and named longtime Michael Jordan business partner Curtis Polk as a defendant, saying all three willfully violated the antitrust laws by orchestrating anti-competitive collective conduct. So, that lawsuit is far from done, right? So there's going to be a lot of balls in the air for Denny Hamlin, even outside of a race car. Do you think Denny's the type of guy that holds on too long?
I think, kind of just going back to my point of, I think he for sure will race at 2311. I think he's not the kind of guy to race too long. I think he'd be willing to race 1 year longer than he should.
Okay.
To say he raced for 2311, his team, and if that's the way it goes, where he can't get there till the very end of his career, I think he would do 1 year there and then hang him up, as long as it probably doesn't. I don't think he would chase out, like,
right.
I don't think he'd be like, Reddick, you're on your way, I need the seat for a year. But if it lines up to where his career is coming to an end, there's kind of movement in that seat, I think he's jumping in there, taking it, whether he's still got it or not.
I think he'll step away when it makes sense and will not overdo his legacy like some of these former drivers have. And the only reason I say that is because he seems to be, like, back to my thing about the sponsorships that his drivers have. He seems to be like a businessman first. A lot of times, like, again, former interviews we've done with Denny, he's spoken about his investments and how he's rich outside of racing, as much as he makes, a good, comfortable,
and
very
busy.
high salary. Yeah. And then I could very much see him doing, stepping away and then also doing a podcast and just really letting it fly. Like, he speaks this vocally as a current driver. What's he going to say when he's, a year or two removed? And now, don't get me wrong, I don't think he'll be doing media in the sense where, like, he'll be doing a TV broadcast, because I'm not necessarily sure that they would want someone that's that critical of the product hosting the broadcast. But I think he will still have a voice in the sport for a long time to come. And I think he will also simultaneously have the self-awareness eventually, whenever that time is. And I'm not saying this year he's going to go winless. It's certainly not what I'm getting at. But I think he will have, backfilled young drivers that have, again, sponsorship and promise to take over when he is no longer in a spot. Now, it might take him a year before he's self-aware enough to the fact, like, hey, I don't have it anymore. But I think he will do one-off races like we saw, like we saw Martin Truex, and I think the original plan was for 2311 to prepare the car. I think it was ended up being Tricon Garage, but I think Denny can do one-off races like that, and if he wants to race in the Daytona 500 for the next 10 years, that's something that he could make happen, regardless of if he participates for the other 35 races a year.
Is there somebody so I'm a boxing guy, as you guys know, and I'll give you somebody that everybody knows, but a lot of people still consider Mike Tyson, one of the greatest heavyweights who's ever lived. He's probably not. And if you look at Danny Williams, do you know that name? You don't. Do you remember Kevin McBride? Maybe a little bit. And you certainly know Jake Paul. Those are the last 3 fights of Mike Tyson's career, and all 3 of them are miserable fucking losses that he shouldn't have fought right up until being 58 years old or whatever the fuck he is and jumping in against Jake Paul. So, like, to me, that's a legacy ruiner. So, I'm going to ask you, Moonhead, is there somebody that steps out in your mind in NASCAR as a guy who just didn't hang him up until somebody basically took the keys away from him?
Richard Petty, honestly.
Okay.
He went like 10 years, I think, without winning a race, and like it was a night and day difference. He went from being like the guy to being borderline irrelevant, and he had some bad crashes and stuff in there too, but he went way too long after the fact. And I hate to say it, but I think Jimmy Johnson is kind of what saves Jimmy is he doesn't do it full time. So like he just kind of does what he wants. So I think he kind of gets a pass, but I don't know. I think him and Richard Petty kind of both come to mind on that one for me.
Stole Quiggs' answer with Jimmy
Is
Johnson.
that you were gonna say Jimmy, right?
No, I wasn't really, but I endorse Jimmy Johnson.
I got one for you. How about Mike Wallace, who was told he's too old to drive at the Daytona 500?
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. But then we saw, who was it, Norm Benning in the Truck Series that just fucking is a wheelman at, how old is he? Let's see, 73 years old.
But
so
we all know the schedule, right? Like, we all know how the schedule is long, grueling, and whatnot. So it does sort of cater to somebody who is able to walk away in their early 40s, right? That seems to be the way that it goes, and that's right around the corner for Denny Hamlin. I wonder what this shit's going to be. I'm going further on Gluck's comments on this. NASCAR is asking the court to eliminate guaranteed entries under the charter agreement if the teams continue to pursue legal action against them. So it's the thing that they had won. NASCAR is now trying to get taken away from them. So this is This is a mess. This whole lawsuit, and again, none of us up on this podium, in case you haven't known, are lawyers, but this is a fucking mess. All right, let's move on a little bit if you guys want to. Live Fast Motorsports announced that Catherine Legge, I don't know if it's pronounced Legge, will be competing at Phoenix on the number 78 Drop Light Chevy Camaro. That's Legge's debut in the NASCAR Cup Series, and the first time in 10 years a woman race car driver and owner have teamed up to compete since that cunt Danica Patrick in 2010 with Kelly Earnhardt Miller. I don't know. I have her qualifications. She's one of 9 women to have raced in the Indianapolis 500, where in 2023 she set the record for fastest qualifying effort by a woman. She's also the first woman to win a major open wheel race in North America. She's 44 years old. So she's the oldest person on the track this weekend, and according to most sportsbook, she's expected to finish dead last. So good luck to her. I think that's very cool, and I've looked up her stuff. She had a pretty storied career, so it's going to be cool, I guess, to see her on the track. Good luck, Catherine. I might set up a head-to-head on – because she's sitting in for BJ McLeod, basically. So maybe like who finishes, is it Catherine or JJ Ellie? Kurt Busch is kind of back. He's, he walked away. He's going to be doing the Race of Champions in Sydney this week alongside like Travis Pastrana. So Kurt Busch is behind the wheel, and he said that he told Racer that he hopes that more driving is on the horizon. So maybe we see Kurt Busch back in a Cup car doing one or two of these races at some point. And the last thing, Kyle Larson and William Byron will split time behind the wheel of the number 7 HenricksCars.com Chevy Silverado. So between those two guys, they're going to do 3 Truck Series races. Larson is going to do Homestead and then skip a week and do Bristol. And in that skipped week, Byron will race trucks at Martinsville. So it's kind of cool. There's a good chance that Kyle Larson on any one of those weekends could also run in the Xfinity and win all 3 in the same paint scheme because they run that Hendricks thing. As far as headlines go, we might as well talk about stuff that just came out. NASCAR says no suspension for Austin Cindric because the driver was traveling at a slower pace on the road course versus an intermediate or super speedway. Dillon had no significant impact or damage and was able to drive on. There was no caution, so a one-race suspension did not feel appropriate. So instead, he got docked 50 points and a $50,000 fine for the Dillon hook. I'm going to ask you guys right off the bat, how do we feel about, and then Kyle Larson got what he should have got for losing a tire, and Hendrick has already planned to have their tire changer, kind of filled in for and whatnot. That was kind of whatever, letter of the law. But Cindric got off with $50,000 and 50 points being fined, no suspension. How do you guys feel about it?
I'm okay with this. I feel like NASCAR has, let far worse go without more punishment. And if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it's like it could have been way worse. They could have been, I don't think they were like super close to the wall or at a super high speed. Like usually I feel like the suspensions come from like very bad decision making. Like you spin a guy like into the wall at a certain, exorbitant high speed. So it kind of looked like he just got frustrated and pushed him out of the way, which if we're going to start suspending guys for that, I think we're going to have a lot of guys missing races. And based on what happened at the Coke 600 last year, NASCAR is not fond of their drivers potentially missing races under any circumstances. So I'm personally content with this. I don't know, the points might be a little bit annoying, but at the same time, monetary fine for Team Penske, they'll survive.
Moonhead, you're pissed. Is just what should have happened here?
I think that I hate when they make calls like this have to be like black and white. Like I get the war on right rearing and why people can't do it at like Charlotte or Michigan or somewhere fast, but it's NASCAR. I think it's kind of soft to penalize somebody for wrecking Ty Dillon for 90th 5 laps into a cup race at COTA. I mean, Ty probably had it coming. You know what I mean? Like, I think NASCAR is kind of a self-policing thing. He didn't junk him. He didn't, I don't think Ty even hit anything. Nobody hit him. He just spun out and got back going and stayed back there in the back where he was probably going to run anyway. So I don't think the punishment fit the crime at all. I think that, yeah, Austin probably shouldn't have right reared the guy, but at the same time, it's a road course. Like on an oval, he probably wouldn't have been in position to right rear him. It just, they turn left and right. So
what would have been the perfect thing? What would have been the perfect thing for NASCAR to say to Cindric? Don't do that again.
Thanks for the highlight. I
Okay.
mean, that's what I'd have told him.
What do you think, Quigsy?
I think the same. I mean, they got it right of no suspension, obviously. I guess when it's intentional, they're going to fine you. And at that point, I don't really care how much money they're fining them. These are teams that can pay it. But yeah, I don't know. It's what I expect. I don't know if whether I like it or not matters. It's an intentional spin on him, and they're gonna at the very least fine him, and that's what they did. So, and he'll be fine on the points. He's gonna be really good this season, and he's got plenty of time to make him back. So, I think it is what it is. They're always gonna throw some sort of fine for an intentional spin out.
Are we allowed to right rear hook people on road courses now? As if you guys want NASCAR to stay consistent. If you guys want NASCAR to stay consistent, and NASCAR had a glaring inconsistency this weekend again. Every week they come up with something to make people say, hey, be more consistent. And this week it wasn't Austin Cindric because it just came out. It was probably the way they were policing turn 6, right? Carson Hocevar turned in, oh, wish I got the memo, that type of thing. So do you think that consistently you can kind of right rear hook people on road courses and just expect a fine? Because I think that's why they gave him the fine and the points.
Well, I think for him it's because it was on a straightaway. I think when you're going into a turn, you can get away with saying it was accidental or having at least some sort of benefit of the doubt. When it's straight away, it's hard to hide what you did. So,
Moonhead,
Yeah, I'm muted. I got so mad I muted myself. No, I what bothers me, I think the most with it is that's a penalty, but I know damn well if he'd have just fallen in line behind him and absolutely shipped him off into turn 1 and put him under the barriers, he wouldn't have been penalized. So that's more my issue, is that I think unless it's a glaring safety issue and somebody did something really, really over the line, I think the drivers should be able to police themselves. And sometimes that includes them having to wreck a motherfucker. But that's NASCAR.
Yeah. It's honestly on Austin Cindric. Just wait 3 more seconds, do it at the turn, and you're home free.
Well, we were firsthand seeing how pent up Austin Cindric was when he gave Spider a pound a couple of weeks ago. It would put his fist through Spider's hand, right? I mean, we had talked about it on this show. Guy was fucking focused. So, he was ready to blow like a wedding dick, and I think that Ty Dillon just happened to be the guy whose load was... Ty Dillon's, the small of his back, was destined to catch Austin Cindric's load. How's that for a metaphor?
Crazy.
Let's talk about the recap from this weekend. As Spider often says, we're giving flowers to our guy Conor Zilisch. Went out there and won the Xfinity race at COTA. Congratulations to him. How impressive was that? He'd beat himself up a little bit at the end. I should say, I don't know why, but I've been eating these wax bottle candies. Somebody give me one of these from my youth. So if you heard anything in the background, I'm going to throw them over here for now because it's very unprofessional. We'll talk about how impressed you were with Conor Zilisch. Not only on the racetrack, but afterwards when he was doing his interviews and shit. This kid he's legit.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just answered the call. The expectations were for him to go in and win. I think he was minus 165 on DraftKings ahead of this race, and that's usually, stay far away from me. Mm-hmm. And he delivered. So I don't know. I was really impressed with him. I think all the hype and the narrative surrounding him is all justified and warranted. I don't think there's been another prospect like this that I can think of that has been this universally kind of celebrated. And it seems like, again, it's all justified. And every time there's a test, Zilisch seemingly performs well. Now, I don't think it's fair to use his Cup results as a barometer for success. There have been several tweets after the fact on Twitter and on social media showing stats of a lot of these very successful Cup drivers and their results in their first race. So a lot of times they finish dead last or, very bad back half of the field, and they still go on to have, hundreds of wins in their Cup careers. So maybe not hundreds, but you know what I mean. Several
multiple
wins.
yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not overly worried about Conor Zilisch's performance on the Cup side. I think the Xfinity test he passed with flying colors, and I was pretty encouraged by what I saw from him on the Cup level as well, as much as you said, Large, in the interview he gave us and all the media he did following his win. That's not easy for an 18-year-old kid. It seems like he's got the racing figured out, but a lot of these guys don't know how to deal with media or the right things to say. Hell, when I was 18, I probably said a lot of dumb things, and he seemingly has both the media side and the on-track side figured out to a alarmingly good level for a kid who's just
part
18.
of it is road courses, though, right? Spider, he had said, don't expect this from him. So I'm wondering, is his success this weekend on the Xfinity, does that make him your number one with the bullet to win the Xfinity championship this year?
I think, and I'm speaking out of my ass here, road course racing is some of the hardest racing we see in NASCAR. I think ovals are relatively learnable. We saw SVG do a good job with, kind of acclimating to NASCAR's oval offerings, and I think Zilisch will do the same, and he kind of has. So I think the hardest part is mastering some of the one-off, road course races. We've seen SVG elevated to the Cup Series only strictly because of his prowess and ability at these road course races. And then it's like, figure everything else out as you go. And, the precedent has been set. If you're good on road courses, there might be a team willing to let you fill in the blanks as you go, learn as you go. So, I'm not overly worried about that, and I still think he's in a great spot.
Right. So where does he go from here then? So how does this kid keep up this level of fucking excellence? He's an 18-year-old kid who wins this race. All of a sudden, everyone thinks he got robbed in the Cup Series. Is there a chance where, if you're going to bet on who's going to be the Xfinity champion, do you automatically just bet against Conor Zilisch because he is such an overwhelming favorite? Or is it one of these things where you're like, I think we're looking at something that's potentially historic?
Austin Hill's been really good.
Yeah.
I don't know if is Zilisch the favorite?
Al Geyer's the favorite currently on DraftKings plus 350. Zilisch is second, 4-1, and Austin Hill is third, 6-1.
Would you guys pick him? Would you guys pick Zilisch over Hill or Allgaier?
No,
probably not at this price. But I did take him earlier in the year, so I'm gonna stick with my pick of Conor Zilisch.
And I think he's more than just a road course ringer. Like, he's a legit racer and can do the ovals, but the road course is his specialty, and the road course guys that will win you some races, it doesn't necessarily win you championships.
Agreed.
And I think there's some good competition, and I think he certainly could, but I wouldn't bet on him, and I don't think he's a lock by any means.
He's playing with the casino's money. Like, it's in a win or in format. He's now in, right? So this is such a sweet spot for him or Chris Bell or William Byron to be in. Not that those guys aren't going to win races down the road, but there's a really sweet seat for him to be in. How do you feel about Zilisch for the rest of the season, Moon?
I pretty much agree with Quiggs. Like, I don't think he'd be a dumb pick to win the championship by any means, but it's tough being his first full-time year. I think with how many road courses there are, I could see him having like an SVG style season where he comes in and wins multiple races on a road course. Now, I think Zilisch having a little bit more oval experience already, I definitely expect him to win an oval race at some point this year, but it's just a lot has to go right to win the championship. And I just think looking at like the schedule, and there's some tough tracks in the back half of the year and the last 10 races, of course. So I don't really foresee him winning the championship, but I would not be shocked to see a Final Four appearance or something like that out of him.
Which is fantastic, right, for a rookie in itself. Let's stay with Trackhouse because we had mentioned Zilisch not having as much luck during the Cup Series race. Suarez did not finish again. So he spun his own teammate, Conor Zilisch, slammed into him and ended the race for both. So Suarez now is outside the top 10 at Daytona and then didn't finish at Atlanta and at COTA. So an already hot seat is getting hotter. Does Daniel Suarez need to win 2 races to be in a car for a Trackhouse next year? Where is he? We'll talk about Ross Chastain in just a second. We'll concentrate on Daniel. What's going on with Daniel Suarez and how much fucking trouble is he in? Because we've already got him out of the 99. We're already talking about it like it's a done deal. I think he has the opportunity to make it not a done deal. Do you guys see that happening?
I mean, I think this was an opportunity for him to make that not a done deal. He's a road course guy, and he seemingly did the worst thing possible this week. They killed 50% of their team on one wreck. Honestly, I think this weekend was a massive, massive loss for Trackhouse. Not trying to be too critical of them, but at the same time, they basically imported SVG after he won one road course race. Not to say that wasn't impressive, certainly impressive to do in your debut, but he was meant to be the guy. And the sports books agreed, DraftKings agreed. He was the clear favorite, and he finished 6th behind guys like Kyle Busch, who have been winless for 60 straight weeks now, and Chase Elliott, who was on pit road for, as much time as I spend in the bathroom on any given day. So a little bit concerning with what I saw from them. Ross Chastain was right up there with them for late in this race. So until Ross decided to pull over for Chase Elliott, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Trackhouse, I'm a little bit concerned about them. You look at the 2022 season when Ross Chastain really broke out, it seemed like Trackhouse had a massive kind of lead in the next-gen cars that has since been erased. I don't know if they had, more intel or a certain setup that was more better, conducive to these new cars, and then the rest of the teams have caught up and now surpassed what they're able to build or come up with. But I would be concerned if I were a big Trackhouse fan, and I don't know. I think the SVG performance was a little concerning. His car, particularly on the restarts, looked like it was not the same as a lot of these other cars. I'm not saying it was a driver skill issue, but something is not working at Trackhouse, in my humble opinion. I will defer to you guys if you agree with me or not, but this was SVG's race to win, and he ended up finishing 6th. So I make it sound like 6th is terrible.
Yeah.
But given the expectations for this guy.
Well, I think that's more I think Trackhouse came in with a stacked team for that race. Like 4 guys 2 that are amazing road course ringers, and then 2 guys who have had a lot of success on the track. 6th being their best place finish is not great. I think you live with SVG in 6th if Zilisch is in 1st and Chastain's in 4th, something like that. But yeah, I think with how stacked they were going in there, and then you got your own guys taking each other out, it was incidental, but it just happened to be the guy that got caught up in Suarez's thing. I think it's a disappointing day, but I don't see any Trackhouses in shambles right now. I think that's a little too far.
No, sorry if that's what I said. I would say
I got excited when you said it.
Well,
because I'm like,
did.
Are we against SVG now? I mean, if he goes P6, if he wins and kind of stays in the top 10 at every road course, if he wins 1 or 2 and how many whatever, if he wins 1 road course race and stays in the top 10, I guess that's less than what Trackhouse was expecting. Maybe I don't know, but I'm willing to throw some dirt on this guy if you guys want. But it's not, I'm more concerned with Ross. Is that maybe something to say? Because where are we with Ross Chastain? I know it was the first turn or the first lap when he drives through Chase Elliott and then pulls over towards the end, which is kind of like you showing your ass to him a little bit. Where are we? Is it one of those things where he's like, oh, I'm aggressive here, but they told me not to be fucking aggressive anymore, so I'm going to let him go by? Are Chase Elliott and fucking Ross Chastain even now? Is our guy Carson Hocevar saying, wait, is that the guy who was just talking to me last fucking weekend about not being aggressive? Hypocrite much? I was expecting him to put that in on the Jeff Gluck thing. Carson Hocevar always comments on that shit. So, but he didn't. He took a higher road. Where are we with him? I'm a little bit more concerned for Ross Chastain.
I was impressed with what I saw from Ross Chastain at Atlanta. I feel like he was up front contending for a win late in that race for a couple laps there, which is all you can ask. But at the same time, I want to see Ross get back to 2022, and I don't think him having conversations with Carson Hocevar about like pump the brakes on your aggression is really the way to do it. I want to see both him and Carson going crazy out there at the expense of other drivers. And the whole pulling over for Chase Elliott thing just felt like a kid that was caught with his hand in the cookie jar that like came in next day with like some fresh baked cookies or something. Like, please forgive me. I don't know. I think if you're going to pull a move like that, you got to live and die by the sword. So I would have liked to see him just ball out the whole time as opposed to just kind of let Chase have that position back.
Ross didn't finish high enough for him to be interviewed right after the race, and I don't think because he came in 12th. So, and I don't think it was one of those things where he wanted to make comments. He said he wasn't going to comment on it, which I don't appreciate, to be quite honest with you. But I was kind of looking forward to seeing Chase go over to his car, maybe, because Elliott was pissed, right? And to see, because we know that Ross Chastain has got, a pretty good right hand. Wait, did he pop him with the right or the left? Either way, he's got a pretty good punch, so it would have been something that would have been extremely captivating, and we were robbed of that. I don't mean to backtrack a little bit, but one of the things that I had written down is that a lot of mouth breathers in Twitter and whatnot had said about Austin Cindric's punishment in relation to it not being a suspension. Of course not, because he drives for Penske. And right away, I kind of discount that. But is there some truth to that? I'm going to ask you guys that if the tables were turned and maybe Ty Dillon had right rear hooked Austin Cindric, is Ty Dillon getting a suspension? Do you know what I'm saying? Is there some sort of, because right away it's the worst with Hendrick, right? Everyone says, oh, Hendrick gets babied for this. Oh, you kid gloves for all that stuff, like the Jordan rules type bullshit. Do you think there is something to that being, some sort of favoritism towards the big three?
Maybe for something way more borderline than that, but nobody's getting a suspension for that exact thing that Cindric did.
Right.
I just don't think that exists. Like, favoritism for the big three, to me, that would have been, oh, Kyle Larson, here's your waiver right away. Like, sorry you were, a couple minutes late to the Coke 600. That doesn't exist, in my opinion. As much as these people on Twitter love to bitch about everything and pretend like there's some, like, grandiose conspiracy theories going on in the sport, I just don't see it that way. Obviously, Penske's one of the better teams, but I don't think NASCAR really, like, what do they expect? To me, you suspend a guy when Bubba Wallace does what he did at Las Vegas in a playoff race and retaliates against Kyle Larson, follows it up by pushing him, and also takes out Christopher Bell, another playoff driver. That is what warrants a suspension. The name of the show is Rubbin is Racing, for crying out loud, as Denny Hamlin said on our podcast previously. Like, we have to be okay with a little bit of contact, and to me, a road course is where we can expect that the most. People are running different lines. There's twists and turns. There's elevation changes. There's braking zones. I don't know. I think this whole thing is kind of played out a little bit. If anything, the penalty, like Moonhead said, was a little bit too severe, not light, in my opinion.
Can you give us the breaking news that just came across the tape while we're recording this, Spider?
I would love to. Joe Gibbs Racing and Chase Briscoe have won the appeal to the penalty issued after the Daytona 500 for holes in the spoiler base being altered. His 100 points will be restored, and there's no suspension to James Small and no fine to the team. Bob Pockris reports as we sit here recording. So, massive. We love you, Chase Briscoe.
Big win.
For a minute there, I thought that Joe Gibbs was kind of going to be in a tough spot, despite, obviously, Christopher Bell winning 2 races in a row. 2 of their drivers, Chase Briscoe, was in the hole points-wise, and Ty Gibbs is at the bottom of the standings this year and had some really bad finishes to start the year. Now, I understand it takes these young kids, like we said often, about 100 races or so before we can expect them to be a real threat to win. But, I think that's massive for Joe Gibbs, obviously Chase Briscoe, and we're Chase Briscoe guys, so definitely happy to see that news.
Yeah, congratulations to Chase. I know it's so early in the season that sometimes people won't recognize the the effect of these point deductions until later on in the season. But I feel much better for our guy Briscoe going forward. All right, so with that, we're going to go to our first four wide. We're about to do our first four wide with Todd Gilliland and with Noah Gragson. Spider, who's the four wide going to be brought to you by? Our first time, I think we have these people in.
It's going to be brought to you by another restaurant that I love tremendously. The heartbeat of Chicago, Portillo's. Portillo's always sounds good. They have unrivaled options for any occasion. Chicago-style hot dogs and Italian beef sandwiches with giardiniera are the classics. But I also love the cheese fries, the onion rings, the the cake shakes, and the spicy chicken sandwich with hot giardiniera sauce is incredibly underrated. And Phoenix Raceway this weekend is a great occasion for Portillo's. Portillo's beef truck will be at Phoenix Raceway on March 7th through the 9th at the camping area Cotton 2 at 7602 Jimmy Johnson Drive in Avondale, Arizona from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Chicago has been very good to me. I've put on maybe like 20 pounds since living here, and in big part thanks to Portillo's. So go check out the beef bus. You can visit your local Portillo's or order online at portillos.com. Portillo's, iconic every time. Here's what we're going to do, Large.
Go.
We're going to do a race to the beef bus at Phoenix Raceway. The first person to send me a photo of them with beef in hand at the Portillo's beef bus at Phoenix Raceway will receive a care package courtesy of me and Portillo. So keep your DMs open and fire away with you at the beef bus. Make sure you check it out for yourself. If you're not familiar with Portillo's, familiarize yourself really quickly because they are one of the best fast food establishments in the game. I just mentioned some of the great things they have. The cake shake is incredible. They take a whole piece of chocolate cake and make a milkshake out of it. Everything goes good there. The cheese fries are incredible. The onion rings are top-notch, and you can't go wrong with the Chicago staples in the Italian beef or the Chicago-style hot dog, which we actually enjoyed with Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
If you're getting a hot dog, make sure you walk that shit through the garden. Put all of those toppings on there, and you will not be disappointed. So thank you, Portillo's. Portillo's, iconic every time.
So that beef truck will be at Phoenix Raceway, March 7th through 9th. Camping area Cotton 2, 7602 Jimmy Johnson Drive from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Spider doesn't have to do that. So he, if you guys send us a picture of you guys with the beef, first one, he'll put together a care package, which is awesome. We don't do it for a lot of other people. I mean, with Blue Chew in here, I don't say send us a picture of your erection. As a matter of fact, please don't. But with Portillo's, it makes a lot more sense. So enjoy Portillo's at the racetrack.
You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, and with that, let's go four wide with our good friends Todd Gilliland and Noah Gragson. Hey everybody! As promised, we're going four wide with what's widely considered the most handsome group of racers in all of the NASCAR Cup Series. Arguably, the handsomest of the three is not with us in Zane Smith. Zane Smith, I just like the cut of his jib, but we got the two uglier guys. We got Todd Gilliland and Noah Gragson in the fucking house. Noah Gragson just pulled over to do this interview. Todd is doing it with the Martinsville clock in the background, a small flex. Perhaps he's going to pick his teeth with a fucking sword he won at the Coliseum. You just don't know. Boys, how you been? Welcome aboard to Rubbin is Racing. How's the season going so far? Great showing by the two of you, two guys in the top 10 this weekend. What do you got going on?
Yeah, I think I'll start off, right? I think we probably both just had our best run of the year at COTA. But I think overall it's been a good start to the year off the racetrack. I think all our teams are working well together. I think we knew it was going to be a lot of fun coming into this season with Noah and Zane as my teammates, but it's been even 10 steps better than what I expected, and I'm excited for the rest of the year.
Noah, this NASCAR thing where they're trying to get more drivers involved promoting the sport, it's very, very apparent. Like, people are actually giving a shit as far as doing interviews and commercials and social media stuff. I've told you this when I saw you at the racetrack. Some guys look uncomfortable doing it. Like seeing Brad Keselowski try to, do some sort of fucking YouTube, TikTok dance, but you seem to take to it like a duck to water. Are you just constantly being asked now by NASCAR to be the guy who has to interview the Rizzler? Or, like that type of shit that other people probably couldn't do?
I think, you're seeing a big push from all the drivers, which is good for, I think, the health of the sport and also probably their personal brands. I've kind of been at it for my whole career now, so it's nothing new really for me. But definitely interesting to see some of these guys kind of step out of their comfort zone, I guess, and have some fun. But yeah, it's nothing new for me.
It's a grind, though, isn't it? Is it a grind that where you have to do like all these different photo shoots with all these different, setups and whatnot? Does it kind of, I don't know, butt into your personal time?
I mean, it does. It does, but like they're obviously sometimes not the most convenient time slots. Like this past weekend, I went out for a 15-minute Q&A and meet and greet with some fans at the track at 6:15 on Saturday night of the race, and so we had to eat dinner early as a team, and then I went back out there, and then I met the team back up in downtown Austin. But I don't know, it's always fun when you got these things. So Lucy Breakers.
Oh, let's throw them up there, Lucy Breakers.
I got mine somewhere. Todd, question for you. You started you were as low as 35th in this race, ended up finishing 10th on an unbelievable last run of the race. You got yourself into the top 10 you really sent it past Ross Chastain in the final lap there. What was that like, and what was different about the end of the race from the beginning of the race?
Yeah, the beginning of the race was just pretty unfortunate. We kind of struggled all throughout practice. I feel like by all but a miracle, we were able to qualify 10th, and then in corner one, lap one, right? I see literally the whole field drive off for me down off of turn one. I could have just stopped right there and been done, dude. I was just like beat down and not real excited to have to pass, 100 cars the rest of the day. But, that's all you can do sometimes, right? Is just not give up. And, we just kind of were stuck in the back. I feel like I passed the same 5 or 6 cars legit like 10 times. I just barely start to make some progress. I cut the track once, had to give all that back up. The next stage, we tried to stay out for some stage points, and then we didn't end up getting any stage points, and that cycled us back to the back. And then, like you said, that last run, we were able to, stay out. We had just pitted when that caution came out, so we were able to cycle more so to the front and, still have new tires. So, we had fresher tires than the guys in front of us, and especially with the tire and the racetrack, everything that we had this weekend, tires were worth quite a bit. So we were able to make up some little bit of ground there at the end.
You just cut out for a second. You qualified exactly where you started in 10th. You have to be happy with that, given the adversity you faced through the race. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying right after the race, right, the stat line's going to look like it was pretty simple race, but it was definitely all but that. I don't think I crossed the line 10th, but literally lap one in the last lap. So that's sometimes how they go, right? You got to fight to the end, and you never know how it's going to end up.
And Noah, for you ran as low as 34th. You finished 8th. You recovered from an early spin. I'm a little bit annoyed sitting on Twitter and on social media this week because all these people, all they want to talk about is Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, and their performances after they face some adversity. Talk to me about that. Is that annoying for you to kind of, I feel like both you guys, faced your own share of adversity this week and bounced back tremendously with 2 top 10 finishes. Do you think you guys deserve more love? And talk to me about how you got that result and what it was all possible.
Yeah, kind of the same thing as Todd, and you mentioned having some adversity there. It's not annoying, but it's definitely a lot more fun when people are talking about you in a good way, So with all that being said, we started in 17th. Ty Gibbs almost flipped the first lap. I cut the S's, had to do stop and go, lost a bunch of spots that I gained on the turn one, lap one. Initial start, gave it all up, and then I went to go past Brad Keselowski, and I passed Brad Keselowski and Ricky Stenhouse backwards going into turn one. I spun out under braking, and I should have been flipping them off going backwards when I was passing them, doing a slide job on them, but battled back and just kept our heads down all day. So fought back up into top 10 position there at the end, got up in the top 5, and just kind of faded a little bit too much on the last couple laps. And some guys with a little fresher tires were able to kind of get by us. So that kind of sucked. But overall, I haven't finished the race yet this year. So it was good to finally finish one.
People are saying it's the best COTA ever. Just everything sort of came together. Perfect weather. Seemed like there was a nice crowd there. That new track layout, at least translated to better racing for us. The tires seem to provide more entertainment. But Chris Bell at the end of the race had said this: "I'm so proud of the way everybody raced each other. I would love to change the narrative of the Cup Series of running into people and moving them out of the way. I would love if this is a turning point for us where we're able to race respectfully and stay off each other and make it less of a contact sport." That's Chris after he'd won the race, and obviously he was just saying, particularly at the end, how refreshing it was to race cleanly. When you guys decide to change it from sort of not clean to dirty, I don't mean to say that anyone's driving dirty, but clean
aggressive.
to
Aggressive.
aggressive, yeah, maybe overly aggressive, anything. Yeah. Is that something that gets decided by you guys? Is that something where in the team meeting beforehand, somebody says, Chris had a really fucking great point, and we're going to be all send each other flowers for the rest of the season? Or is he being kind of myopic that it's only the third race of the year? If you got to be winning in at the end of the season, it's going to get like fucking Thunderdome. How do you feel about that?
No, I mean, the intensity always ramps up, and when it's hard to pass and guys have challenges, and the racetrack is difficult, guys' cars aren't handling good, we're all racing at 100%. Sometimes mistakes are made and whatnot. If you say it's the cleanest race out there, there's also a guy who just got a penalty this week for hooking someone, right? So no matter, maybe the race for the lead was really, really clean and it was aggressive, but really calculated and clean. I think if you look back further in the field, there's still the same amount of beating and banging. And what do you think, Todd? You had a phone call this week. What do you think? Was it as clean in the back of the pack, or were guys dirtying each other up and whatnot? I was 3 wide with Todd and Joey, and we were all bouncing off each other. It's the nature of it. Sometimes it's at the front of the pack, sometimes it's in the back of the pack.
Yeah, I think for me, like you mentioned, I think once I got home, I watched the end of the race, and I thought the guys at the front of the pack were obviously extremely clean. Even when they were kind of just, 1, 2, 3 there for a while, I was almost yelling to myself, like Byron could have just breathed on the 20 at times, I felt like, and got past him. You could see the 20 really sliding. I felt like, those are his times of chance, but obviously, to kind of get in there and get him. But obviously he chose to try and pass him very cleanly, and I can definitely respect that. It definitely wasn't my cleanest run there from that caution to the very end. I definitely got into some guys coming through the pack, but I think, like Noah mentioned, right, the cars were slipping, sliding around with the tires wearing out, and everyone going to that last 110%, right? I think it's really easy to see guys being clean, racing at that 95, even like 99%, right, all day. You just, once the pay window opens, that last stage, or like a green, white, checkered, right, you see guys pushing the absolute limit, and then that's, when there's more risk involved, it's, I think you're bound to see guys make more mistakes. So that was at least my side of it, right? I made a lot of mistakes there, pushing too hard at the end, but I feel like the battle for the lead was extremely clean. That's for sure.
Did you like the layout better this weekend?
Yeah, it's 10 times better.
Yeah.
It felt like more racier, we didn't get strung out on the long straightaways, and there's, I don't want to say more passing opportunities, but everybody was more bunched up, and it created closer racing to allow more passes and more excitement, I think. Hey, Spider, why don't you have your rubbing as racing suit on? Where's it at?
Well, actually, I wanted to ask you about this one. I know you wanted this fire suit back, the part of my cheesesteaks fire suit. Shout out
I got to trade you. I wish I was home right now. I still got to send you a picture, but I'll trade you some gas for that thing, dude. I'll get you.
I have another trade offer. I was wondering maybe we can get a fire suit from each of you guys, a 2-for-1.
Whoa.
Is that too much to ask?
Listen, hold on. I'm stepping in here. We've been on now this little call for 15 minutes. Before we came live, Spider had asked for a ride in the jet, right? So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
And
Spider's
now he's
just
looking
a free handout guy.
And now these guys, in the goodness of their hearts, Noah is on his way somewhere. He's on his way to Buc-ee's. He pulled over, and Todd is, at his house. They're spending time with us. It's a favor. Now you're looking for 2 fucking fire suits for giving them an old one. Is that what you're asking for?
Both two of my favorite drivers in the studio with each
Spider,
of their fire
I don't
suits.
even know how you got that suit. I keep all my suits, so I honestly don't even know how you got that.
I think it was because it was AJ who drove this. I forget what the story was, but I think maybe AJ parted with it, not you. But yeah,
Also, question: where does my suit come into play? You're trading me and Noah a suit for one of Noah's suits.
Thank you,
right.
Todd.
Like,
Yeah,
what?
Todd, you get a future first-round draft pick or something.
There
I don't know,
you
player
go.
to be named later. I don't know. We got to work out what you're getting.
Todd, how tall are you?
I'm 6'3". It might be a little bit big on him.
He's 6'9".
I'm 6'5". So why don't we
There
well, you maybe put me in? I mean, obviously I have a way to go before I'm your weight, but there's something that maybe we can do, Spider. Maybe I get a fucking fire suit. I'll put in the ass flap for the time that I have the runs, but otherwise we'd be good.
Yeah, we'll work something out. We'll talk after this call, Noah. But I got one more question for you guys before we let you go.
Spider, who's your favorite driver, dude?
Oh, man.
Dude, I was watching your guys'
put
YouTube
him to
video,
it.
and you guys cheer for everybody. It's
Yes.
Literally go up to everybody. Hey, this is the boy right here. This is my favorite guy. He's the best guy. Like,
Have you ever seen his betting
say
card?
that to everyone. Who's your favorite, Spider?
I only have least favorites, and I will divulge that information as soon as we're off the call. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Okay, who's your favorite current driver?
It's between Noah Gragson and Todd Gilliland.
Whoa.
All right, well, my favorite Barstool influencer
Employee.
or entertainer would be Large, Jersey Jerry, and Tommy Smokes.
Damn. Well, hey, I love all three of those guys, so I'm not offended by any means.
Who's your favorite, dude? Here's a good
I
spider
honestly,
story. Here's a good
Yeah.
spider story.
Give it
We're
to
up
us,
at my
Noah.
buddy Christian's condo in Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I'm sitting in the middle of Spider and Sheldon Creed. And Spider looks over at me and he goes, "Hey, is that Sheldon Creed next to you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, he reaches over me, "Bro, Sheldon, I'm a big fan, bro. Dude, it's so good to meet you, bro." I'm like, "Come on, dude."
Large, help me out here. Are we not massive Sheldon Creed fans?
You're on your own,
Not that
Spider.
that-
I'm
You
sorry.
didn't even know who the guy was, Spider.
You're on your own, Spider.
I couldn't recognize him in his street clothes. I think that's fair.
Spider one time asked for a fire suit for me to try to get me on the jet, and I'll help you out in times like this, but I haven't seen it yet, so
Yeah,
you're on
this
your
is-
fucking
this
own.
is not going my
Large,
way here.
text Todd and I your address. And we'll give you
And my sizes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This
We
one,
got
I'm
you.
framing this. It's
Yeah.
staying here.
Listen,
No.
we're gonna preview Phoenix right after we get off with you guys. Is there anything you guys can tell our audience about what they should expect at Phoenix this weekend?
I mean, the closest that race is gonna be is to maybe Phoenix Richmond fall race last year, summer race, where they had the option tires. We have the
Yes.
options to go
Yeah.
to the soft tires, the hard tires. That's gonna throw a loop into what we all got going on. So it should be traditional Phoenix with a little bit of a twist in there. But we're gonna kind of all be in the same boat of waiting to find out.
Is that fuck you, guys? As far as that, I mean, I would think that this is the time where you're like, when I make it to the playoffs and I go deep into the playoffs and I make it to this is where I'm going to have to win a championship or at least beat the other guys in the final four. Does that kind of fuck you that it's not going to be a 1-for-1? I know the temperatures are going to be pretty similar between what you're going to be racing at this weekend and what you'll be racing at in the fall. So the only other difference is that they're screwing around with the tires. I know you guys want the softer tires, but does that kind of fuck you as you're preparing to race in the championship in November?
Just makes it more bullshit we got to worry about.
I hear you.
I feel like for those championship guys, though, realistically, I mean, what would you like, right? At least an opportunity to try out 3 sets of tires during a race weekend, or go to Phoenix on a brand new tire completely, right? It might mess up, dilute this race a little bit, but I feel like, honestly, at least you have some data, something to go off of those championship guys.
Last thing I got for you guys. Give me your top 3 NASCAR road courses. Give me the podium of NASCAR's road courses. 1, 2, and 3 in your opinion. Todd, we'll start with you.
Oh, boy.
All right, Noah, we'll start with you. All right, you got your answer?
Sonoma?
Yeah, I'm ready, dude.
Sonoma,
There's one.
Watkins Glen. I like the Roval.
You put Watkins Glen second.
Yeah, well, I ran good there last year.
Oh, he's
It's all what
easily
you run good
persuaded.
at, you know?
I'll go COTA 1 for sure, especially a new course. I would say repaved Sonoma is second, and Roval third.
How you guys?
Sonoma, old Sonoma is better. But
How you guys feeling about Mexico City? We're going to be there, by the way. I'm very excited about that. We were doing an interview with Denny, who's Spider's favorite driver, and he had said that when he was there like 20 years ago, he had gotten held up. Spider, I got to keep that going. I apologize. When he went there, he got actually held up where I think they had like a rusty machete and made him go into an ATM and take out like $1,500 before they sent him back to his resort. So it could get a little bit more interesting than what people are expecting. How do you guys feel about going Sicario style into Mexico and winning a race down there?
I know if they hold any of us at machete point, they're gonna have better luck with Noah. He'll be able to get more out than me.
The samurai sword. Yeah.
Just don't wreck Suarez. Is the advice to all the drivers. That's what it should be, because you're not getting out of there.
No, the amigos are there in force. They'll kill you. Yeah, absolutely.
He's the hometown guy, so you don't want to mess with him.
I don't think you fuck with Noah Gragson in Vegas, right? I mean, is the same thing in Vegas? If they get you in Vegas, all of a sudden the Gragsons come out of the woodwork too with their rusty machetes. Right. Yeah, you're damn right. Todd, what's your course where people will fuck you up if you mess with Todd Gilliland?
Like Mississippi.
Dude, I don't know that I have one, man. I don't. At least Noah has some fans. I mean, I have a few great fans, but they're just dedicated. The few that I have, so I don't know. Just don't ever wreck me, man. They'll come after you anywhere.
Spider, you got one more?
That's all I got. I do want to give a quick apology. You might have heard some bagpipe noises going on in the background here. We have a bagpipe band here in the Chicago office ahead of St. Patty's Day, so I apologize if that interrupted anything, but that's all I can hear in my ears right now.
No,
Boys?
the semi-trucks next to me have been drowning out the noise.
Okay.
So,
guys, we appreciate your time. We appreciate all the free shit that you're going to be sending us coming through.
No. Us is plural.
Me. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a mouse in my pocket. We'll see you guys at the track. I think the next place we're going to be is Talladega. Last time I saw you there, you going around on the motorized scooter and the whole deal. So it's going to be a lot of fun down in Talladega, and it's a lot of fun just watching these guys race. Todd Gilliland and Noah Gragson will be watching you. Phoenix, wish you the best of luck.
Thanks,
awesome
boys.
gift.
Love you, boys. Love you, Spider.
Take care, boys.
Two of my favorites right there.
Two of your favorites. Two of the favorites there. All right, so those are Noah Gragson and Todd. I should have came to your defense, Spider, and yet I have no guilt that I didn't. Just fucking happened.
I mean, the only thing that I really felt bad about that he said was him saying that I didn't know who Sheldon Creed was. I wanted him to confirm that Sheldon was who I thought he was in street clothes away from the track at someone's apartment. So, you know what? Hand up. I didn't recognize him. Sheldon, it won't happen again. You know how Large and I both feel about you. I got to catch him at Atlanta. Couldn't have been nicer. So, yeah, we're pulling for him now and forever.
I should have said that. If I was going to stick up for you, and I love the ball busting, by the way. I love your relationship with Noah Gragson.
Yeah, those guys are great.
Yeah. I should have said that you have the best eye for faces for drivers outside of helmets and stuff that I've ever seen. And I'm talking at 40 paces. You'll be like, oh, J.J. Yelly on your left. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then all of a sudden, as it gets closer, it's always it. So you're impeccable with that shit. I probably should have stood up for that, but I'm not unhappy that I didn't. At the end of the day, fuck you. All right, So we're going to go into this weekend's race. We've got a big weekend of racing. I mentioned earlier, no trucks until Vegas next week, and only one Cup driver is pulling double duty this weekend with Xfinity, and that's going to be Alex Bowman, right? You can catch all of the Xfinity action, the GovX 200. It starts at 5 p.m. on Saturday. Catch it on the CW. And the Cup race is the 4th of the season. It's the first on a mile oval. It's the Shriners 500, Sunday, March 9th, starting at 3:30 p.m. on FS1. Christopher Bell is the defending winner from last spring, but Byron, Briscoe, Logano, and Kyle Busch have all won there in the last 5 seasons. Kevin Harvick has a record 5 wins there. The race began in 2005. Remember that NASCAR announced in January that the option tire will return for the spring weekend at Phoenix Raceway. Noah Gragson had alluded to it while he was in the interview. It'll be the same process that was utilized for the summer race at Richmond last year, where each series team was given 6 primary sets of tires for the race, 2 sets of option tires. You'll hear about this all over the broadcast this weekend, but the goal is the option tire to increase grip, which can provide more pace to the car, with the trade-off that it's designed to wear significantly faster than the primary tire. And a NASCAR spokesperson said that if the option tire works well during this race, it would become the primary tire for the championship race at Phoenix in November, so there would be no option tire for that championship race. With that said, we're going to roll right into picking the tires. As always, it's brought to you by DraftKings. Who's scoring big in the NBA this season? You are, with all the new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NBA. DraftKings is the home of NBA player props, so you can get behind your favorite player any which way, from monster slams to dishing the rock to cleaning the glass. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Just try betting on something simple, like picking an NBA player prop. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers, you bet only $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Take it to the rack with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code RUBBIN, RUBBIN. That's code RUBBIN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Alrighty, guys, so we're going into Phoenix, and we're going to pick a couple of winners, hopefully. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I got one quick pick for you guys.
Hit it, Spider.
I'm taking Ryan
Wait,
Blaney.
is this gonna change you now, Spider? Are you not gonna do a bunch of people because Noah got on you, and you're gonna give us just one driver this week?
No,
Please don't tell me he
absolutely not.
broke your fucking spirit like that.
I will say I have been taking kind of less drivers this
You
year
have.
outside of the super speedway tracks. I had Austin Cindric was my only play at Atlanta. Tyler Reddick was my only guy at COTA rather, and Ryan Blaney is going to be my only driver this week at Phoenix. In 6 races here since February 2022, he has 6 top 5s. His average start has been 9.8, and his average finish has been 2.8. If there's a guy that knows how to move up at Phoenix, it's Ryan Blaney. I am a little skeptical, only because Ford started the season slow last year and in several years past. And I feel like that's a talking point we always have, is that they haven't won in the first 5-6 weeks of NASCAR. So that would be my only hesitation. But these numbers and the stats I'm looking at are super pro Ryan Blaney, and I still think that I think he's 6-1 right now. He's not even the favorite. Christopher Bell is on DraftKings is 5-1, but Ryan Blaney at 6-1 seems like a fair price for a guy that's finished every one of his last 6 races here within the top 5. He's going to be there hopefully at the end, so that's really all you can want. Give me Ryan Blaney. Outside of him, and if we have the opportunity to do another DraftKings banner parlay this week, one guy I might look to add is Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is plus 100 for a top 10 and plus 275 for a top 5. Kyle Busch in his last 6 races here has 3 top 10s and is pretty good in his whole career stats here at Phoenix. So, and given what I saw from him last week, I'm encouraged by what I saw from Kyle Busch. He's a hungry dog. Hungry dogs run faster is what they say. And, he looks like he's kind of had an edge to him early this year. So in 39 total races here, he has 12 top 5s. So I think that's I don't know what that math is, maybe 33%, somewhere around there. But he would be another guy that I look for. Outside of him, I was looking at Tyler Reddick for a minute, but I think I'm not going to take Tyler Reddick this week. Ryan Blaney, maybe Kyle Busch, but Ryan Blaney is my number 1 play. He's always a good bet at Phoenix, and he's another guy that's been in striking distance at Atlanta, and I think he's going to be doing the same here this week. Give me Ryan Blaney plus 600 on DraftKings.
Hell yeah, I like that.
What do you think, Quiggs? You want to go next?
Yes. So I had a gut pick that I was just going with one. And then Noah said something in that interview, which I need to confirm with you guys that this is what I remember is what he said. But he said the track that from last year that's going to be the most similar, was it Richmond?
Yes.
With the choice. Okay. So I'm going off who did the best with those choice tires last year. And I am going to take from that. Austin Dillon won the race.
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of.
Did he?
Austin Dillon won the race, but I'm throwing him out. We're not taking that. And then second and third was Denny and Tyler Reddick, and I'm going with both of those guys. I think they're good in general and could win here. And then they have the experience and had some sort of strategy with those tires that got them up there. So my pick is Denny Hamlin and Tyler Reddick, plus 1,000, plus 1,200, respectively.
Nice. Good use of that word.
What are you thinking, Moonhead? Anything?
Man, I mean, Bell won last year, so that's kind of low-hanging fruit. But I was thinking Reddick, like Spider. I'm gonna take him. I've got a Reddick feeling. He's run good there. Ran good there when he was in the Final Four last year. I know he got top 10, and then I'm pretty sure I saw he was top 10 this race last year. Option tire will probably throw a whole nother curveball into it, but I like Reddick.
Okay. You got Reddick. I have 4 bets this weekend. I'm taking Byron outright at plus 800. I'm taking in the head-to-head. I'm taking Logano over Blaney. I think it's like plus 125. It's not a lot of plus money on the head-to-heads. Taking Logano, and again with the tires. Anytime there's something where a veteran would do better, I always just jump on Joey Logano. I'm taking Ty Gibbs, not to win the race, but he's the Group D winner. So he's in there with Josh Berry, Brad Keselowski, and Bubba Wallace. So I'm taking Ty Gibbs plus 200 in Group D. So it's going to be Ty Gibbs, Group D winner, Joey Logano head-to-head with Ryan Blaney, William Byron outright winner plus 800, and then another head-to-head, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is plus 125. I'm going to take Kyle Busch over Denny Hamlin. That's kind of piggybacking what you're doing, Spider, but shorter odds for a shorter victory, just over Denny Hamlin. Anybody else have anything else to add? Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought you forgot one, Large.
Those 4.
Yeah, but earlier in the show you said you were going to take Catherine Legg plus 100,000.
Yeah, no, I said I want to see. That's a very good point, Spider. Thank you for bringing that up. If you look at the odds for this, who's the second worst odds on the board for this race?
It's Cody Ware and Ty Dillon, both 50,000 to 1.
Okay, so what do you do as a line? Do you take Cody Ware, Ty Dillon, or Catherine? So let's take the bottom 4, and everybody gets 1. How about that?
All right, I'll
we'll
start
take the
with John
bottom
Hunter.
4. So the bottom 4 is right now John Hunter Nemechek, Ty Dillon, Cody Ware, and Catherine. I have Catherine. This is just a 4. This is Group Z, right? This is Group Z. John Hunter, Ty Dillon, Cody Ware. I have Catherine. And by the way, I'm plus money on this fucking bet. Who do you have? When not going to Spider, you went first. We'll go in reverse order. Moonhead, who do you have?
I'm a big Nemechek fan.
You got Nemechek
at
at plus 1,400, taking the fucking favorite, you chalky bitch. And then you got Ty Dillon or Cody Ware. The other one has to go to Spider. Quiggs, who are you taking both plus 1,700?
Give me Cody Ware.
Yeah, Cody Ware. Spider, you're
default.
riding with Ty. You're riding with an angry Ty Dillon this weekend.
I'll take it. The Dillon
yeah.
boys, they showed up well. I guess hopefully Ty can pull what Austin did at Richmond, and he just does that at Phoenix, and Ty just wrecks the field on his way to victory, and I just hold it all to you, motherfuckers.
Damn right. We're dropping this on a Friday as usual. Is there a moon car thing that we need to talk about at all? Is that? I know that we had one this past week.
Yeah, just Thursday night. So I guess by the time this drops, it's really just a Monday through Thursday deal usually.
Monday through Thursday deal. I am going to plug, you got to try this. We got the weekly podcast now going on. Mangold did very well in the first episode last week. I just got through shooting that one with Stu Feiner, and it's going to take probably longer to edit out all the wild shit that he does than is in the podcast. But it's a lot of fun. It's a fun ride. You got to try this weekly show to complement all the shit I'm doing on social. And with that, this is the Rubbin' His Racing crew. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Peace.